All right. Hint received. I've completely confirmed that it's not just me who finds these snake oil salesman characters funny and hilarious, but it turns out you all also find them very comical. Since I've seen a lot of support for this so-called series about the biggest snake oil salesman in anime. So, I've come up with a sort of spin-off for this section. I've come up with two ideas, but I'm not revealing the second one yet. We're already familiar with what a snake oil character is, but what happens when it's the complete opposite? What happens when a character seemed pretty weak or irrelevant to the plot? Were they completely sidelined? And nobody would have thought for a second that this character was going to accomplish some of the most incredible feats in their story. What do we call this type of character? They could be characters we thought were weak and then turned out to be strong, just like that, but it's not exactly the same. For instance, Whis from Dragon Ball Super until near the end of Battle of Gods or in the anime's retroactive continuation. You couldn't know that. In fact, he was much more powerful than the God of Destruction. Beerus? But you could suspect it. Or at least, you could suspect that he was some kind of supreme sorcerer, or at the very least, he was crucial in divine matters, serving as the assistant to the God of Destruction. But the characters we're going to talk about today could even be the butt of jokes by their own creators and fandoms. But they ended up shutting us all up in a way that can only be described as epic. That's why today we're going to mention and talk about some of the most anti-hype characters. I'm not sure what to call them. If you have any ideas for a name from an anime, let me know in the comments. So let's get to it. Number 1, Shibukawa. Mr. Shibukawa is literally an oasis within Baki. This old man is an oasis in a desert of smoke. Master Itagaki is, for obvious reasons, one of my favorite authors, but like everyone else, he has his, let's say, peculiarities. Itagaki has a terrible and annoying habit of inflating every single new character that appears on screen in a totally exaggerated, indiscriminate, and unjustified way. It's already reached the point where fans just sigh deeply and roll our eyes every time a new character is introduced. And as always, he's the last Coke in the desert, the most powerful and badass guy in the multiverse, only for him to end up brutally beaten by some other character or by the ogre 5 minutes later. And we know perfectly well that 9 times out of 10, when a guy is introduced as an unbeatable monster, it's just smoke and mirrors. To give a simple example, we have the ultimate super soldier Gaia and his infamous overhype that he had in his saga, claiming that this guy could even defeat the badass Yujiro Hama. The badass Yujiro Hama. Obviously, Yujiro didn't even have to try. He didn't even need to warm up or get his blood flowing. It was absolutely pathetic. Will this man appear in future editions of The Worst Scammers? Of course he will. The thing is, Old Man Shibukawa is, if not the only one, almost the only character that Itagaki didn't exaggerate in an absurd way. And it turned out that he was not only powerful, but also able to counter monsters like Biscuit, Oliva, among others. In addition to having the impressive and fearsome achievement of being one of the few characters who were able to take down the Tiger Slayer, the God of War, Orochi Doppo, this happened during the quarterfinals in the Underground Arena tournament. While it was clear Shibukawa wasn't a nobody, this character had an air of mystery during the tournament. He definitely wasn't hyped up that much by the story, unlike what happened with guys like the useless Cringe Lord, the extreme one that Yujiro brought to the tournament for some reason. The one who was brutally analyzed by Doppo later, I don't even know if I remember his name. Or even with Katsumi, who, although he's a beast and a character I really like, in that tournament, many fighters, including Hanayama, were on a higher level than him. Despite losing to him, I will always feel that he seemed superior, and only lost because it was his turn to do so. Because the punches that Katsumi tanked were no joke. Shibukawa reached the tournament semifinals, where the competition was fierce. Characters like Andrianov, Zargon, or even Hanayama himself weren't even in the top 7. As we know, he was defeated by the antagonist. In quotes from this arc, Jack logically wasn't going to win the final. It had to be between Baki and his brother. I'm not saying that Shibukawa was stronger, it's just that the fight was scripted, so to speak. Although, yes, at this point, he was already an unstoppable monster, surpassing the impressive judo and jujutsu. Didn't you notice Shibukawa's caution? But without a doubt, it's an absolutely impressive feat to end up in the same position, so to speak. So, Retsukayo, and he's very close to entering the final of this tournament. Shibukawa has shown his strength on other occasions as well, like when he beat up Ali Jr. In short, he's very strong, formidable, and one of the least overhyped characters in the series by the author. Besides, he's a great guy I like a lot. Grandpa Shibukawa is awesome, one of my favorite Baki characters. Number 2, Magna, because a real man never speaks ill of Magna, the ultimate friend. Today, more than ever, it's time to bring up one of my favorite members of the Black Bulls, and why not say it, of all Black Clover, Magna Swing. Warning, the following contains significant spoilers about a manga character's current situation. Proceed with caution. Though, honestly, I doubt anyone was truly shocked. After the anime ended, not reading the manga and waiting for Pierrot to continue would be a huge mistake. Magna's story in the manga took an unexpected turn that surprised everyone. I always had faith that Magna and Zoro would do something important in the arc. Logically, everyone was being useful and these two still hadn't participated actively. And since Tabata has a habit of not completely abandoning and forgetting the secondary characters, did you know he would take the trouble to include Magna in some way? What I couldn't expect was that this son of a truck full of whores would get laid so well. To the fucking guy who apparently seemed the most screwed up of the main trio of villains in the arc. And what I liked most about all this is that instead of, well, giving the character a stupid power-up to make him absurdly strong, and that way he could fit into the power scale and keep participating in the fights, they gave him different abilities that, while not increasing his power, help him stand up to certain vastly more powerful opponents. Because, as it's often said, if you can't beat your enemy, then just nerf him. Besides, well, we know that Dante is a guy who, in a way, represents ego in its highest expression. Underestimating Magna so much for being a commoner without much aptitude for magic and all that. Not knowing how to react. Once he started gaining ground on him, it took its toll. There are a lot of people who complain about this a lot. Since Magna is a guy without demons or helpers inside, standing up to and epically defeating someone like Dante, well, my friend, simply put, this isn't Dragon Ball. The one who throws the biggest Kai Blast doesn't win, and it's not Naruto either, where the winner is the one with the most shapes and exotic colors in their eyes. I'm sorry. In Black Clover, you can also win with tactical strategy, surprise, countering, or, like in this case, all at once. Saying that Magna's victory was wrong is simply not understanding how this story works. The point is that Magna fits perfectly in this video since expectations for him were low. Those of us who did expected a lot and knew the character's great potential. We also didn't expect him to take down that damn Dante. So of course Magna is absolutely the complete opposite of fraud. I thought that maybe, I don't know, I could be a good support at some point. I might have made an epic save or an emotional sacrifice, but definitely not this. Let's not even discuss its epicness. It's literally impossible not to get out of your damn chair. When you see Magna's panel as he lets out his victory shout, like a true wild animal completely covered in wounds and beat to shite, facing a totally wrecked Dante. You just can't ask for more. Thank you, Tabata, for treating your side characters so well. It's really appreciated, right? Toriyama and Kishimoto? I'm looking at you guys. Your works had more than 5 characters, you sons of bitches. Number 3, Muten Roshi. In Dragon Ball, characters are rarely overhyped, with a few exceptions such as the infamous Kaio-sama. The same god also overhyped Babiri's minions and Gohan, although Gohan is overhyped for different reasons. As explained in the previous edition, in this series, when a character is powerful or dangerous, it's usually quite noticeable. But this also happens exactly the other way around. And when a character isn't up to the circumstances or isn't going to do anything relevant, it's also pretty obvious. After all, Dragon Ball has always been quite predictable in this aspect. On the other hand, the character we're going to talk about today, Master Turtle Muten Roshi, completely broke this stereotype during the multiversal Tournament of Power in Dragon Ball Super. That's mainly in the manga version, since while it's true that he had a great role in the anime, his participation was amazing, surprising, and very emotional. Alongside his longtime students Kuririn and Goku, the manga showcased perhaps the most outrageous achievement ever by a Dragon Ball character. And if not, it's at least one of the top 5. And that was being able to at least put up a fight against the greatest monster we've seen so far, excluding deities, the terrifying Jiren the Grey. Master Roshi said this would be his student's final lesson in addition to what had already been taught. Goku made sure this scene had it all, showing that the original most powerful man on Earth's surface, the one who fought alongside his companion and his original master against the Demon King, Piccolo, still had it. And that years later he gave his life facing the same enemy. He was still standing to protect his people. Then we get into whether this made sense or not. I want to say something, and it's that I feel like for some time now, the power scale in Dragon Ball is completely broken. The characters became so absurdly powerful that it's incomprehensible how they don't obliterate the universe with a single action. That's why I think the Dragon Ball team has chosen not to make them look so strong, even though they are. Do you get what I mean? In Dragon Ball Z, when Goku reached Phase 3, he seemed like an incredibly overpowered, monstrous being. He looked like he could annihilate the entire universe with a single strike. In contrast, in Super, the Super Saiyan 3 Goku from Z would be insignificant on the power scale. At times, it doesn't feel like the characters are that ridiculously strong. This was an example of that. No matter how much Roshi masters this or that technique, Jiren is a guy who could wipe the floor with any enemy or rival seen so far in the series. Again, not counting the gods. Anyway, it was just a little surprise. Really, this wasn't going to defeat Jiren, but it did help Goku understand better how to beat him. Despite his old age and questionable character, this crafty man still managed to leave everyone speechless. This was the hottest topic in the community for the entire month when the episode aired, quite a while back. That's why, for me, for having pulled off one of the craziest and sickest feats I've ever seen a character do. Given that an average person could evade some of his punches, who is this man? Superman fused with Goku and the Cumbia alien deserves at least a spot on this list. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and follow me on my social media like Twitter and Twitch, where I stream almost daily. Also, don't forget to follow me on my secondary channel, Belsa Tilter, where I upload videos reacting to anime or reading manga that I've watched or read live. Thank you very much and see you next time. You want to kick it, you'll get robbed. We've got you down fast. Thank you.